momentarily. All right. And I will let me go ahead and just check everyone in that is here with us. I see we have a Barbara. Barbara, if you could unmute, give me your full name and tell me who you're representing here today.
Yes, Barbara Bell, Carthage Civic League.
Okay, welcome. I have a Q. The gentleman that's under Q.
Oh, yes, Your Honor. Nadeem Qureshi, attorney for the applicant.
Okay. Well, and we have Wes Menzel, who is the zoning plans examiner for the Cincinnati Zoning Department. He's also with us. Hi, Wes.
Good afternoon.
All right. And is there someone on an iPhone that's going to be joining us here today? Is this your client, by any chance, who's trying to join us?
My client is present here, Your Honor.
Oh, in the room with you?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. And let's see. Just want to make sure that I have your name correct here. Could you tell me your name one more time? I'm not sure I see it on the application.
Yeah. It's Nadeem Qureshi for Rasul Auto Repair LLC, the applicant.
Qureshi?
Yes, Your Honor.
Got it. All right. Okay. And I'm going to try one more time here to make contact with the individual on the iPhone. Looks like they are connected to audio. Whoever's trying to join the meeting with the iPhone, if you could take yourself off mute and activate your camera. It's the only way you can participate. If you're here just to observe, of course, you can keep your setup as is. All right. I am going to, Mr. Qureshi, are you expecting anyone else to join us here today?
Your Honor, I just have my client and 2 witnesses.
Okay, great. Are they all here?
Yes, I actually came to the building here because they're local.
Gotcha. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So I think we are ready to go ahead and get started then. I need to read through our hearing script. This is going to cover the procedure for the hearing, and then we'll jump right into it. So this is the March 8th, 2023 session of the Zoning Hearing Examiner docket. My name is David Sturkey. I'm the Zoning Hearing Examiner for the City of Cincinnati. I'll preside over this hearing. The case before us today is case number ZHUV230001. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the Zoning Hearing Examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any opposing party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. Members of the public will then be able to speak after the applicant has presented its case. If the applicant is represented by an attorney, the applicant's attorney may cross-examine any person who has testified at this hearing. If a party of record is represented by an attorney, the attorney for the party of record may present witnesses after the applicant has presented his case. I will give the government official, Wes Menzel, an opportunity to provide any testimony in addition to his staff report. However, he will not be subject to any cross-examination, just simply anything he has to offer from his staff report. After the applicant has been given an opportunity to rebut any testimony and or argument, well, I'm sorry, let me back up. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to an application, the applicant will have an opportunity to rebut that testimony and or argument offered in opposition. After the applicant has been given that opportunity, the applicant's attorney will have an opportunity to make any closing statements. So let me just run through that again one more time, just briefly. So we will start with Mr. Qureshi, who will present the applicant's case. Mr. Qureshi, I'm pretty liberal on how you want to orient that presentation. If you would like to ask your witnesses or your client direct questions, sort of like a direct examination, you can do that. If you'd like to just give them the floor to tell me about a particular aspect of the proposal, you can do that as well. Really, it's sort of up to you. All of them can speak, or just one of them. You can also, of course, make any arguments that you would like in your initial presentation as well. Again, why you think this is appropriate and why I should grant the relief are all things that I would like to hear, either through argument from you or from testimony through your witnesses and your client. I will then go to Barbara Bell and take any testimony from her. I'll allow you to ask Ms. Bell any questions if you would like. After that's complete, I'll go to Wes Menzel. I'll allow Wes Menzel to provide any testimony in addition to a staff report. I'll then allow you, if you would like, based on any information that Wes has presented or any testimony you've heard from Barbara Bell, to respond to that or potentially rebut any testimony that is opposed to this application. And then I'll allow you to make any final statements. So I'll walk you through that as we go. I know it's a unique procedure. And Ms. Bell, I think the important thing to take away from that is that you really just have one bite at the apple here as a member from the public. So when you give your remarks, if you'd like to be exhaustive, I think that'll be helpful. Of course, if Mr. Qureshi has questions for you, you'll be able to talk again, but it'll just be sort of one main opportunity for you to tell me how you and your organization feel about this project. Okay. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make any comments. I may also refuse to consider hearsay testimony or documents. That's generally evidence you want to introduce that consists of statements made by someone who's not present here today. That is discretionary, but I may refuse to allow it. In the event of any technical difficulties with the Zoom technology, I will do my best to troubleshoot any of those on the fly, but to the extent there's some defect that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with the rest of this hearing, I may continue or postpone the hearing at my discretion. Okay. Last thing I need to do is swear in our witnesses. Mr. Qureshi, is it possible to get all of our witnesses on the screen at one time just for this limited purpose of swearing them in collectively?
Yes.
I don't have to.
As opposed to doing them one at a time, you mean?
I can do them one at a time. That's
They're
totally
all
fine.
there.
Sure. Why don't I just do them as they testify? Okay.
Okay. That's fine.
And I'll do the same with Ms. Bell. So, Mr. Qureshi, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Your Honor, to begin with just identifying the parties, the owner of the property here is 221 International Corp. The tenant here and the applicant who is authorized by the owner as its agent is Rasul Auto Repair LLC. The tenant who's been operating here since 2018. The property is 7300 Vine Street, parcel number 240001-0080. This is a property that measures approximately 50 by 100 feet and is located at the corner of Vine Street and 73rd Street. Your Honor, this property is located in a mixed commercial district, one of the purposes of which is to allow certain limited mixed commercial residential uses where appropriate. This is an application for a use variance, and we believe that the applicant meets all the requirements, all the criteria for a use variance. This area of Vine Street in particular is geared towards the automotive industry. It includes businesses such as auto sales facilities, auto parts facilities, and auto repair facilities. In the last several years, the trend in this area has been towards granting variances in the auto-related industry, and we believe that this is a appropriate candidate for a use variance. And Your Honor, with that, I would present my first witness, which is Mr. Tahiru Wayne.
Okay, if you could
And Your Honor, I'm
spell
going to
the
just switch sides with him.
sure. If you
Yes,
could
sir.
if you
It's
could spell his
TAH.
first and last name.
Yes. PAHIROU, and last name is WANE.
Okay.
All right, Your Honor, and I'll have him just move over here.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And can you go ahead and state your name for the record?
Tahiro Wine.
All right, and Mr. Wayne, are you the owner of 221 International Corp?
Yes.
All right, and 221 International Corp owns the building located at 7300 Vine Street.
Yes.
All right, and prior to you acquiring this building, it was owned by Afric Auto Inc.
Yes.
And you acquired it in September 2022.
Yes.
Now, Afric Auto was leasing this building to Rasul Auto Repair since 2018.
Yes.
All right, and does that lease continue with you?
Yes.
All right, and you have been involved with this property for some time anyway, correct?
Yes.
The owner of Afric Auto was actually your brother.
Yes.
Okay, so you were aware of the history of this building and so forth.
Yes.
And as far as the lease goes, has Rasul Auto Repair LLC been a good tenant?
Yes.
Do they pay their rent on time?
Yes.
Right. And as far as the lease goes, do you intend to continue that for the foreseeable future?
Yes.
And to the extent that Rasul Auto Repair LLC is the one filing this application, do you consent and authorize them to pursue this as your agent?
Yes, I do.
Okay. You own an auto dealership here?
Yes.
And how long ago did you start that dealership?
Since 2011.
Okay. And so you've been in this area for the last 12, 13 years?
Yes.
All right. And when this property was rented to Rasul Auto Repair, do you know the type of work that they do?
Yes.
What kind of work do they do?
It's a body shop.
And mechanic?
Mechanic.
And do you from time to time use their services?
Yes, I do.
All right. And by them being your tenant in this building, is that providing an economic benefit to you?
Yes, I do.
And does it increase the value of your property by having a tenant here?
Yes.
And to your knowledge, prior to the purchase of this building, do you know what business was here?
Yes.
What was it?
Speed.
Cincy Speed?
Cincy Speed.
Okay. And do you recall the nature of its business?
Yes.
What was that?
High performance engines, building engines.
Okay. And that business was here from approximately the mid 90s until 2017.
Yes.
All right. And you've viewed the building here, the property.
Yes.
Are you aware of that sort of pit in the ground?
Yes.
And was that something that was there when you purchased the building?
Yes.
And as far as you know, was that there when Cincy Speed was operating a business here?
Yes.
All right. As far as this building goes, when it was first purchased in 2017, were you aware of your brother's purchase of the building?
Yes.
And he purchased it in approximately 2017?
2017.
All right. Was he able to rent this place when he first got it?
No.
How long did it take him to finally rent the place?
A year.
About a year?
Yeah.
Okay. And based on you being in this area since 2011 and now being an owner of this building, and understanding the unique nature of this building, do you believe there is any other economically viable use for this building other than an auto repair or auto body repair type business?
No.
So the you are receiving an economic benefit
Yes.
from the rent and the added value.
Yes.
Okay. And to your knowledge, is Rasul Auto Repair also doing work for dealerships in this area?
Yes.
And to your knowledge, do they do business with auto parts stores in this area?
Yes.
Anyone in particular that you're aware of?
Smith Auto
All right, and where's that located?
is on Vine Street. Is a 74.
Just close by.
Yeah, close by, like
Vine
a
Street.
half a mile.
Okay. And would it be based on your knowledge of this area and the types of business and so forth, would it be economically viable for you to invest any kind of, a sum of money to try to convert it to some other type of use?
No.
And you do use their services from time to time?
Yes.
Okay. And as far as the application for a use variance, do you support this application for use variance?
Yes.
And should there be any conditions, if it's approved, and if there are any conditions imposed in order to
Yes.
keep that variance or maintain it, are you willing to do what's necessary in order for that to happen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Your Honor, that's all I have for Mr. Wayne.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor, my next witness is James Robert Guth. I go by middle name. All right, James Robert Guth. All right.
Okay. James Robert Guth, is the last name Guth?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
All right, Mr. Guth.
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Guth, can you tell us kind of your background?
I'm in auto sales.
Okay.
And I grew up in Carthage, and that from 1952 to 70, 4 blocks down the road. And then I moved to Phoenix for 38 years and then moved back. And I could not believe the town.
When did you move back?
In March of 2008.
Okay, so about 14, 15 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay, and what was it that you observed when you came back?
It was unbelievable. Every place boarded up, houses boarded up, grass growing high, and that buildings all down Vine Street. This was when I grew up in the 50s, this place had everything. I could buy, it was like New York. From here to Elmwood, you could get shoes, a piano, anything you wanted. The car dealerships were on Vine Street and Reading Road. That was the 2 strips. There was no auto malls. This is what this was. This was the auto, dealerships all the way up. Jake Sweeney started his first lot right across the street, Jake Sweeney Mercury. And but I could not believe all the places that got boarded up went out of business. And it just looked really bad.
Okay. So when you moved back here in 2008, did you start working here?
And 2011.
Okay. In 2011, you began working in auto sales here?
Yeah, here. I was in auto sales from 08 to 11.
Okay.
And then I started down here in 11.
Okay. And have you been in that ever since?
Yes.
Okay. And are you familiar with Rasul Auto
Yes.
Repair?
Uh-huh.
Okay. And your dealership, which one is it?
A 3A auto.
Okay. That's close by here?
Yes, next door.
Okay. Does your dealership use Rasul Auto Repair Services?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, for what kinds of things?
Any mechanical or body work that we need.
Okay. And what kind of work do they do?
Do auto body work
Mhm.
and a mechanical work.
All right. And how would you rate the quality of the work?
Oh, excellent. I mean, they do insurance work, so they're good.
All right. And being in this area, have you observed anything, inappropriate as far as equipment being outside or, cars being parked outside that are being worked on or anything like that?
No cars ever get worked on outside.
Okay. The
Now,
space here,
Now, 1 second.
listen to my question. Okay.
Sure.
The space here, you're familiar with this space?
Yes.
So this can hold like quite a few vehicles inside anyway.
I'd say 25 probably.
Okay. Potentially.
Yeah.
Okay. Were you here? You were working at the same dealership when Cincy Speed was here?
Yes.
And what kind of work were they doing?
They did mainly racing motors. That like guys would bring their motors in and they did dyno tuning on them and that type of work. It's high performance motor work. It's what they did.
And what is there anything unique about this property that makes it geared towards auto repair, auto tuning?
I don't know what else you could do here. There's no parking. That's the bad part of it. On the outside, there's no parking. That's why he brings the stuff
Street
on the
parking.
inside. Yeah.
Mhm.
So to be a retail place, it would be tough if it was having people coming all the time, in and out.
But as far as like the pit in the ground over here,
Oh yeah, that was used for a dyno tuning machine. They did dyno tuning on the big engines to see how much horsepower they put out. And that's what that was.
okay. And as far as you're aware that the Rasul Auto has filed an application for a use variance?
Yes.
All right. And do you support their
Oh yes,
application for a use variance?
absolutely.
All right. And are you familiar with their reputation in this area as
Oh, yeah.
business owners?
Yes.
And how is their reputation?
Excellent. Excellent.
All right. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Mr.
You
Guth,
done with me then?
Yes.
All
Mr.
right.
Guth, if you could have a
Yes.
seat for just a sec, just a couple questions. What auto sales business did you say that you own?
I don't know, and I work there. 3A Auto. The number 3, the letter A Auto.
Gotcha. Okay. And you said that you have personally never observed any cars being worked on outside of the building. Is that right?
The only cars that ever got worked on outside, there was a mechanic. He was the Carthage mechanic around here. He did work for everybody. He would go in behind our shop. We'd run him off. He'd be out here on the street. We'd call the police on him. And that because we kept getting, them coming to us thinking it was our mechanic. This guy just, worked on his own. He was a heroin addict. He ended up ODing. But then the only time I seen any cars being worked on was by a guy named Jody Stiver.
And he was not associated with Rasul, is what you're saying.
Nothing to do whatsoever. I mean, we ran him off. I don't know how many times. He'd be in behind our lot, back on outside the back, working on cars there. And, we tell him you can't do this. So then he'd go out on the street, on up the corner and work on it there.
Gotcha. And you said that where exactly is 3A Auto Sales?
3 Autos at 7310. This is 7300.
Gotcha. Okay. And you believe that the inside space could hold 25? Sorry?
Maybe, let's say 20. I think we'd get 20 in here, see if they had to.
Gotcha. And 20 cars, I mean, that would leave enough room for cars to be worked on as well.
Yeah.
So you could fit
yes.
20 in and still fix the cars without having to
I
store
would
them
have to
outside?
actually, I'd say easily 15 to 20 with plenty of room to work around.
Gotcha. Okay. And you said that you think that the property is you think the only economically viable use would be to use this particular building for car repair?
Yeah, the way it is set up, yes, because as I say, is for the, trying to, do any parking on the street. If let's say if they sold this to a retail place, where are people going to park? It makes it very tough to, to sell this place if you go to sell it. The way it just about have to be something that they're going to bring inside and do.
Gotcha. Okay. So the lack of parking makes it a unique property
That
for
and
inside auto
and then
repairs.
yes, and then it's set up for a garage.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's see. I think that's all the questions I have. Did Mr. Qureshi, did you have anything you wanted to ask him based on my questions?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Goot, so assuming that, you can park on the street, right? I mean, there is public parking here on the street, right? But as for the property itself, the building itself, you were saying that you were saying like it's designed like a garage.
I don't know what else it could be, really.
So what is it about this particular space inside that makes you think?
I don't know the exact size, like 40 by 80 or whatever. And I mean, it's not big enough to do like an Amazon thing, for a storage facility or something like that. That was looked into. You couldn't rent it. Okay. And that when I first got it, and that trying to figure out what they're going to do, and then I figured they'd have no trouble, with it, because that's what it was before.
You mean the
application, what they're doing here is the same thing that was being done before by Sensi Speed.
And then it was vacant for a year after they left. Okay. So the design, the garage type design makes it unique towards
Yes.
auto repair, body
Right.
repair. Okay. All right. Thank you.
That it? All right. Thanks a lot.
That's all for me.
Thank you, sir.
Your Honor, I'm going to call my client.
Okay.
And this is Sheikh Bianca.
Okay. If Mr. Bianca, if you could spell your first and last name for me.
CHEIKSZ Bianca DIANKHA.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Bianca, just by way of background, did you migrate to the U.S.? Yeah. Where did you migrate from?
I come from Africa, Senegal.
Senegal. And
Yes.
And what kind of work were you doing in?
I used to do the same thing I do here, like a body work on the metal, on the car, since in Africa. I live since 2000. I come to the United States, New York particularly. I stayed over there 20 years. And
Okay.
I moved to Cincinnati.
All right. And you're a U.S. citizen?
Yes, I'm a citizen.
All right. And you have family?
Yes, I have.
And who's in your family?
I have my wife, my cousin. I mean, my wife, my kids, and I have a couple of cousins and sisters.
How many kids do you have?
One,
How old?
14 to 15
Okay.
years.
So in New York, you were doing the same kind of work? you
Yeah, I
said?
was doing the same thing in New York,
And where were you in New York?
the Bronx.
Okay. And then what brought you to Cincinnati?
My family and try to get better living because over there was so crowded in New York. And they told me Cincinnati was so wide and so full to do business. That's why I'm moving from New York to Cincinnati.
Okay. And you also had family here?
Yeah, I got family here, got relatives here.
Okay. So when did you come to Cincinnati?
2018.
All right. And when you came in 2018, what was your plan?
I was planning to open a garage, like the same like I did. I tried to work and make some money.
Okay. And then what did you end up doing?
It's still the same thing. This garage, I'm doing body work and mechanic.
Okay. And are you the only owner of this business?
Yes.
All right. And do you have any employees?
Yeah, I got one mechanic.
One employee?
Yes.
All right. And as far as the space itself, there was a business already here, right?
Yes.
And what was that business?
I call him since his speed.
Okay. Since he's
I mean, before we came here, there was used to be business like Santiago, because one of my cousins were here. He was doing the same thing, and I joined him. And he go back to Africa and say change the system. I mean, the name of the business used to be Santiago, now it's Restaurant Repair.
Okay.
But he would do the same thing like I do now.
Okay. So your cousin had a business called Santayala,
Yeah,
and he was doing the same business
exactly.
in
like
this
mechanic,
building.
Yes.
Okay. And then he left and you've continued.
Yes.
Right.
Continue the same thing.
All right. But you're the only owner.
Yeah, I'm the
Of
only
this
owner. Yes.
Okay. But you're saying prior to Santayala,
Yes.
it was Cincy Speed.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, when you came to Cincinnati and you saw this business, what was it about this particular building or this particular setup that made you think this is good for a garage?
Because the first thing I saw is like with a frame rack, I see it was designed to get a frame rack, because the way they built the building, it was good for me to put a frame rack and make me everything easy.
Mhm.
That's why I asked after that what was here, and I see the sign all around the shop to say Cincy Speed, and they was doing performance car, and I see the same thing I was doing is kind of similar.
Yeah.
And it helped me doing better than getting another shop.
Okay. And right at the front of the store there, when you enter, and by the way, what's the main way you enter?
There was a hole they was using, Cincy Speed was using to put a car. That's what I'm asking. And the same thing I used to put my frame rack, and it helped me a lot.
You're talking about like that pit in the ground.
The car, yeah.
Okay. Which is still there.
Yeah, it's still there.
Okay.
We found
And
it.
is that something that you guys use when you're doing the repairs?
Yeah, I use it because it's good for us.
Okay. And then the entrance to this building, there's basically it's garage door,
Yeah, it's garage door, yeah.
right? There are a couple of doors to.
No, it's only one entrance. The garage door and just for the office.
Right,
There's two
right.
entrances.
Yeah. There are a couple of doors, but the main entrance is.
Yeah, the main is there.
For
The
a
garage door, yeah.
Now, can you describe the type of work that you do?
So do body work and mechanic. Body, fixing the car. Not using the big car, the big truck and something like that. Just using a small car, fix it slowly, and do some mechanic also, changing part of the car, like arm, control arm, whatever we do for the mechanic.
Okay. And how many cars do you generally have inside the building at any given time?
I can get 3, and I can work on only 2 cars.
And
But I have a space to park the car.
okay.
By the time we do that, we fix
So
it
at any given time, how many cars are generally
inside, like maybe 10, 15
at the most?
at the most, yeah.
Okay, but you can only
So,
work on.
Mr. Qureshi, I'm sorry, I didn't catch the answer to his question just a moment ago. Did you ask how many cars could fit inside?
Yes.
And if so, what was the answer to that? Could you repeat that?
I say it's 15 to 17 car to park it good. Because I'm the only using it, I can put 15 car too, but I can work only on 3 cars.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So 15, 16, 17 maybe
yeah, maybe, yeah.
could
Okay.
fit in,
Exactly.
but you can only work on 2 or 3 at a
And 3
time.
cars, yes.
Okay. And as far as parking goes, right in, when you walk out the garage, you're on 73rd Street,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And if you go left out of the building, it's a dead end.
Yeah, it's dead end, yeah.
So there's no traffic coming from that side,
No.
but there's street parking on both sides of the street,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And then across Vine Street, there's street parking on both sides of the
Both
street.
sides, yes.
And then on Vine Street, there's parking both sides of the street.
Yes.
Do you ever see traffic backing up here or anything?
No.
Okay. And as far as the street parking, has anyone ever indicated there's a problem with
No.
being able to park on the street?
No.
Okay. Now, as far as the vehicles that actually that you're actually working on, do you ever leave a car you're working out on the street? Okay. So if it's a customer's car, it's inside facility?
Always outside the building.
Okay. And as far as the work that you do, if you're doing any work on a vehicle, do you ever do it outside on the street?
No,
Okay. So the work is always done inside.
inside always.
All right. Do you deal with any kind of do you do oil changes and things like that?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a process for getting rid of
The oil.
yeah.
Yeah, I got a container now. I just make it full. When it's full, I go. There's one truck. He always come to us, pick up the oil, the dead oil, and take it back.
Okay. So you have a process for getting
Yeah,
rid of
for
the
the guy, yeah.
hazardous
Yes, for the
materials. and
hands
so
on.
forth.
Yes.
Okay. Now, in the course of your business, do you support any other local businesses?
Yeah, because there's so many car owners close to me. There's one close to me, Smart. I always buy parts from them. There's others on close to me too, like maybe 2 miles. I always buy parts from them. There is Orally close to me also by maybe 3 miles. I always buy parts for them. And even the dealership, because sometimes I go up to campus to buy some parts, whatever. Toyota dealer, Honda dealer, whatever, Cadillac dealer. I work with all of them because they know they have my name now.
And what is LKQ?
LQQ is a auto part.
Okay. Are there
They're
any,
selling parts. Yeah, I work with them too.
okay. Are there any junkyards close by?
Yeah, there's Pull and Pay close to me, like maybe 4 miles, 3 miles, something.
Okay. And do you have to buy?
Parts from
Parts
them
from
too,
them?
yeah, something.
All right. So are between these O'Reilly, Smythe, AutoZone, LKQ, junkyards, is this something you're doing daily?
Yeah,
Buying, meaning ordering parts?
I mean, burn parts, yeah, almost every day.
Okay. Monthly, would you say you're spending like hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars
Thousands of dollars
on these auto parts?
in the auto parts, yes, to get
Okay.
parts.
Okay. And as far as the dealerships that are close by, like across the street from you is Rush Auto,
Not sure, yeah.
and then kind of diagonal
King,
is
yes.
Car King,
Yeah.
and then there's 3A,
The auto, yeah.
and there are a couple of others north of
North,
us
yeah.
and stuff. Do you get business from these
Yeah, of course, yeah.
dealerships?
Yeah, I work with them.
Okay.
That family, yeah.
All right. So they're getting body work
By
and
the
repairs
okay,
done from you.
fixing their car, yes.
Okay. And do you support any other local businesses? There's a Speedway down
Yeah,
the road.
because sometimes I go buy gas over there and get some snack or coffee, whatever.
Gas.
Gas, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And I assume you pay your taxes,
Yes.
local tax and so forth. Right. All right. So for you, being the tenant here, you heard the testimony earlier. You have a lease with 221 International Corp.
Yes.
And do you intend to continue that for the foreseeable future?
For sure, yeah.
Do you have a good working
Yeah, I
relationship?
got a work with the owner, yeah.
All right. And you pay your rent every month on time?
Everything on time, yeah.
Okay. Now, for you as a tenant, based on the nature of this building, this property, do you believe there's any other economically viable use for this type of
No, I don't
setup
think
other
so.
than auto repair, auto
I don't think
related?
so. I think the way they design it just was used for the mechanic or something like that, yes.
Then would it be economically viable for you to invest in this building to try to convert it to some other type of use? And what are your hours of operation?
It's from 10 to 6. I start from 10 to 6 from Monday to Saturday.
Okay, and is that how does that compare to other local businesses here?
Some of them get earlier than me and later than me too. But me, I work from 10 to 6 from Monday to Saturday.
Okay, off on Sunday.
Yes.
All right. And as far as the nature of your business, do you believe that it's consistent with the general, community here as far as the types of businesses and so forth?
Yeah, because I always see the customer around here. They always come to me asking, "Oh, there's a body shop." They look like they like it. I mean, all the neighborhood here come. I have a lot of customers from this neighborhood. They always fix the car here.
Yeah.
A lot of them. That's mean that maybe they like it.
And if you were not, are you the sole earner of your family?
Yes.
And if you were not able to use this as an auto body repair shop or auto repair shop, would you have any way of running another business?
No. That's the only things I need.
Sorry, I need just a moment.
Sure. Well, while you're doing that, this is why I swear everyone in it to be at the very beginning collectively, but I do need to swear in your client now. And if your other witnesses are there, I'll need to have them come back and retroactively be sworn so that their testimony can be taken in. That is my mistake. I apologize, but I hope they haven't completely left by this time. But yes,
They're available.
They're available.
Yes, they're just right around the corner, Your Honor. I think we can get them here.
Okay, great. Yeah, sir. Is it Chias?
Check.
Check.
Bianca, yeah.
Check. Can it? What would you prefer to be called?
Say that again.
What would you prefer to be called? How should I refer to you?
Yeah, I was here.
No. What do you want him to call you?
I would have called it Check.
Shit.
Yeah, Check. Oh, okay.
Check. Okay. Sorry. I apologize, and I'm gonna mispronounce that. But if you could raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give and have given up to this point are the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I say only the truth.
Okay, great. Thank you. And Ms. Bell and Mr. Manzel, you could unmute briefly. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. Sorry, Mr. Kresge, about that. And if those other witnesses come back, I can swear them in at any time, but I would like to get that on the record just so that we can include their testimony.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. Hold on just one second. All right, I believe that's all I have for my client.
Okay.
Great. I just had a couple questions, Mr. Jess. So you said that your hours of operation are 10 to 6 Monday through Saturday.
Yes.
Does that mean you're only working during those times, or that's the only time that a customer can drop off a car?
No, I'm just working on only that time. Even you drop after that, I'm not gonna work. I work from 10 to 6.
Okay, so after 6, there's no one working on cars inside.
No.
Okay. And let's see. Is there ever a time where you require more storage than 15 to 17 cars?
No.
No. So if you have 15 to 17 cars in your shop and a customer comes up, you'll turn them away?
No, I'm not doing that. I'm just going to give him an appointment. Tell him I have a couple of cars. I'm full right now. By the time I judge the car I have inside, how long it's gonna take, and I'll give you an appointment for, like 1 week, 4 days, whatever. And if they trust me, they come back after I get all this guy over.
Gotcha. Okay. And finally, have you or any of your employees ever been accused of working on cars outside of the indoor area?
In my knowledge, no. Before, like I say, since 2018, no.
Gotcha. So you are unaware of any city inspector ever citing you and noting that you were working on vehicles in the street?
No.
Okay. Are you aware that there was a citation issued to this property for not having a permit?
You know what he's asking?
I don't know what that means. Can you explain to me better?
Are you aware? Well, let me ask you this. Have you ever been cited, or are you aware of the property ever being cited for any violation?
No.
The inspector giving you a ticket.
No, he never give me a ticket.
The inspector.
Okay.
Oh, Your Honor, I'm sorry. I think the citation may have actually been given to the
Sanitation?
owner.
Yeah, give it to the owner, but never me. They never give me a ticket. Not me.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. And Mr. Qureshi, to be clear, you personally have never worked on a vehicle outside, and you have never seen or not aware of any employee working on a vehicle outside of the indoor area.
Okay, over there, I'm gonna mention one thing. Sometimes, I cannot control the people outside. Sometimes there's some people, they call themselves mechanic. The streets not belong to me. They can open the car, like I can say, like 2 months ago, one guy was working outside. I don't even know him, and he's open the tire, do some mechanic outside. But I cannot ask him to stop it. What I can do sometimes call police or whatever, but I don't know him. But it's close to me. It seems like maybe it's my shop, but it's not my shop because I don't know those people. They are in the street. I can control them.
How often does that happen?
If I remember, the last time was maybe 2-3 months.
So
But it
would
don't
you
take
say
so
it's
long
every 2
because
or 3
by
months?
the time I get in and get outside, it was done. He put the tire on and he left.
Let me do you know why they would do mechanical work directly outside of a mechanic shop and not some other place on the street?
No, I don't know.
So you don't know why they're drawn to doing work outside of your shop?
I mean, it's not in my shop. It's on the street.
Yeah, yeah, but it's directly next to your shop, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they don't do it only on my side. Sometimes they do the opposite side too. Sometimes I see them the opposite side, the other side from the across 73rd.
Gotcha. And and these, you don't know who these people are?
Particularly no.
How often do you see that occurring outside of your shop?
Not maybe once in a while.
Have you ever told them to stop?
Yeah, one time I told him he was discussing, arguing with me. I told him you're not supposed to walk outside because you're close to my shop or you go somewhere. We just argue really bit, but I tell him I'm gonna call police, but I don't do that. I just let him finish and he go away.
Okay. I think that's all the questions I have.
Huh?
Anything, Mr. Qureshi, based on my questions?
Yes, briefly, Your Honor. Mr. Bianca, could it be that these people are working outside your shop so that it appears they work for your shop?
No, I don't even know that.
No, I know, but do you think that the question was asked, why do you think they're working?
Oh, why they working outside? Maybe they used to do that before me.
No, I know, but do you think they're doing that so that other people may think that it's your shop and they won't stop them?
Yes. So maybe the guy, because like asking me the question, maybe some people think it's me. Also, yeah, it's not me. I don't work outside.
So no one that works for you, no one you authorized is doing work out on the street.
Never.
All right. Nothing further, Your Honor. Is he there?
Guys, I'm sorry. My internet connection was just unstable there for a minute. Could you just repeat the very last question? That's the only portion I missed. I apologize.
Your Honor, what was the last question you heard?
The last question I heard was, why do you think that that someone would be working outside of your shop? I think the suggestion was that maybe that people are trying to pretend as if they are real mechanics and working outside of the shop.
Right. Do you think that may be the reason they're working right outside your shop?
Yeah.
So that bystanders may think, oh, it's the mechanic shop.
Yes.
But in fact,
it's not.
It's not. Nobody working for you is
No,
working on this.
nobody work for me outside.
All right. Your Honor, no more questions for him, and I do have the other two witnesses if you'd like to swear them in.
That'd be great. Thank you very much for bringing them back.
Sure. Bob, you can.
Mr. Guth, thanks for coming back. I just need to administer the oath to you. Do you solemnly, if you could raise your right hand, do you solemnly swear that the testimony that you just provided during this hearing was the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes,
Okay, thank you very much. Have a great day.
thank you.
Hi, Mr. Wayne. Thanks for coming back. If you could raise your right hand, do you solemnly swear that the testimony that you just presented at this hearing was the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wayne. Have a great day.
I do the same.
Thanks. Okay, Mr. Qureshi. Any
Yes,
other
Your Honor.
witnesses?
I have no further witnesses. Other than the application with the attachments, I assume those become part of the record.
Absolutely.
And
I
then
did receive your email too this afternoon.
Yes, there
with
are
two additional photos that I will admit into the record.
Mhm.
I'm gonna briefly, just for a split second here, share my screen so that, pardon me, the other members in the hearing and anyone observing online is able to see the two photographs that Mr. Qureshi is asking to be admitted into the record. And as I said a moment ago, they will. And I'm happy to pull those up if anyone would like to reference them during their testimony. Okay, Mr. Qureshi, you can, if you'd like, you could make argument or summarize testimony, or you could wait until closing to make those arguments. It's sort of up to you how you'd like to proceed at this point, or if you'd like to sort of rest for now until we've heard from the other participants.
Your Honor, briefly, I would like to kind of summarize the evidence and then just have a chance to rebut or ask questions.
Absolutely.
Thank you. As far as the factors go, for you to consider, we believe the evidence submitted and the testimony establishes sorry, Your Honor, establishes the basis for a use variance. Based on the testimony of the witnesses, Your Honor, this area generally, and this is particularly this part of Vine Street, has been auto industry oriented, primarily auto sales. I mean, if you're coming off of 75 and you turn south on Vine Street, I mean, the first thing you see is an auto dealer, on both sides of the street. You heard the testimony that there are also auto parts stores close by, and then you have the body shop and the mechanic. So this area, and which is a CNM zoning district, it's appropriate. It's consistent with the nature, the businesses in the community. It's consistent with it. This particular building, which was previously occupied by Cincy Speed, I believe they were here from sometime in the mid-90s until 2017. Now, it's not exactly the same work, but I think they were making these vehicles, high performance vehicles, that kind of thing. But the building itself is geared toward that type of work, with the frame racks, the lifts, the sort of garage warehouse nature of the building, the garage door at the front of the building, what I'm referring to as a pit in the ground, so you can get down and look, look under the vehicle. So that use has been consistent, and that use was there prior to these zoning regulations or these ordinances going into effect. And I think when Cincy Speed sold the building in 2017, there was that 1 year gap where the owner could not lease the space, and probably because it would be leased by somebody in the auto industry. And then fortunately, in a year, they were able to rent it to the business that was doing this repair and body work. And now Rasul Auto Repair has been here and is continuing to do that work. So it's really been consistent over an extended period of time. And it's consistent with the general nature of the businesses in this area. And on top of that, Your Honor, as far as the considerations, the hours of operation from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. is consistent with a lot of the car dealerships. Some of them are actually open 7 days a week. As far as traffic goes, there's nothing about this location or the type of business that is causing any sort of increase in traffic. The 73rd Street on the when you cross Vine Street, one end of it is a dead end. So there's nothing but street parking here, but there's plenty of street parking on 73rd, on Vine Street. You never see cars backed up or anything like that. There aren't really any adverse effects from granting this variance, because honestly, if you look at this building from the outside, you see a building with a garage door. There's nothing, there's not equipment outside. You don't see a rack of tires outside, that you see in a lot of stores. Like if you pulled up to Meineke or Midas or one of those, you'll see the auto bays, you'll see tires and all that. So all the work is done inside. The cars are inside, the lifts, everything is inside, equipment's inside. So visually, there's nothing about this property that aesthetically has any effect or any kind of adverse effect in that sense. As far as the business itself, Your Honor, you heard some of the testimony that, and you've seen some of the pictures, that there have been a lot of vacancies in the buildings on Vine Street. I know some of that has changed in the past few years, but you would see a lot of vacant businesses, but the ones that seem to survive are the auto-related businesses. And this one is consistent with that. As far as economic benefits, Your Honor, obviously the applicant here is running a business, is making a living, has one employee who is also earning an income from that. They're paying their local taxes. They're supporting several other local businesses, particularly the auto parts stores, O'Reilly, AutoZone, Smythe, LKQ, as well as the junkyards and even some of the major dealerships like Mr. Dianca mentioned. And we're not talking hundreds of dollars, we're talking thousands of dollars monthly that is being spent on these parts. And as far as the private benefits, Your Honor, obviously there's a benefit to the landlord because the landlord has a tenant. He doesn't have a vacant building. The value of that building is higher when you have a tenant, and that landlord is receiving rent. As far as public benefits, obviously having an active business in the neighborhood is much better than having a vacant one or a boarded up one. And again, one that is consistent with the types of businesses in this area. As far as the specifics of the property itself, Your Honor, this is a case where a strict application of the provisions of the code are unreasonable and result in practical difficulties. It's just the nature of this building with the pit and the way it's designed just makes it unique for auto repair or bodywork type of business. It's necessary for the preservation and enjoyment of a substantial property right of the applicant and the owner. Obviously, having a space that is rented, that's getting used, that's running a business out of it, is obviously the better the better scenario. And there would really be very limited potential uses of this building, Your Honor, based on the way it's set up. There would not be any economically viable use for this building, Your Honor. Again, just based on the nature and the unique quality of it, and the fact that it's been used this way for so long. The layout, the in-ground or that pit space, the garage door, it's uniquely geared towards the auto or auto repair or auto related business, and it would just not, it's not reasonably economically viable to try to convert this to something else, and particularly not for the tenant, who this is his only real skill. It's the thing he's been doing his own life, or his whole life, and if he's not doing this work, then he really doesn't have another option. There wouldn't be any adverse effect for any of the adjacent property owners, Your Honor. The reference to somebody working on cars out on the street, two of the witnesses have explained that these are people who are offering their services as mechanics, but they don't have proper shops. So they're showing up in various locations, probably because someone may not question it if you're working outside of a body shop, but the owner knows who works for him and who doesn't. He has one employee, and unless someone is saying that it was his employee that was out here working, then it's a different issue. But based on the space that he has in the building and the equipment that he has, there's no need for him to be working out on the street. There's just no need. Everything that they need is inside here. It's a pretty large space. The use is consistent with the general character and of the neighborhood, which includes auto sales. And we believe that this is the minimum that will afford relief to the applicant. And based on the information we've submitted, Your Honor, and the testimony of the witnesses, we would request you to grant the use variance.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for that presentation. I may, after we hear from the other folks and hear some rebuttal, I may have some more questions for you. But for now, let's go ahead and move to Ms. Bell. Ms. Bell, if you could take yourself off mute. You've already been sworn. And so now's your opportunity to tell me, either in your personal capacity or as a representative of the community council, your views on this application.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Mr. Sturkey. Appreciate the opportunity. I don't have prepared notes, much as I'm sorry. I didn't get the spelling of the attorney's last name. I'm sorry.
It's Qureshi.
Qureshi. So I'm at a little of a disadvantage here, but I'm here as a representative of the Cincinnati, or the Carthage Civic League, which is our community council here in Carthage. Carthage Civic League has been one of the oldest community councils here in the city. It's been in existence since 1937. I've been involved with the Civic League maybe about 15, 16 years now. And right now I am the current treasurer of the organization. I also head up the beautification committee. So I'm speaking more in line of those two entities, but also The Civic League has been going through some changes, just like every other organization has in the last few years, and trying to get people to be involved. And of course, COVID did not help either with involvement with everything. But what I'd like to point out, and we have talked about, the Civic League is a very active organization, though we're getting back on track of being more involved and starting more things and activities, civic community minded. But the first thing I'd like to point out is that the use variance is it contradicts, the business district plan, strategy plan that was adopted by the council by the community, I should say, back in 2015. We have a business plan. It was submitted to the city, and I think there should be a copy available. And it just doesn't flow with what Carthage is hoping to do with our business district. I appreciate the the argument that it is a viable business at this point, but if you change it, what's it going to do though to the makeup of Vine Street for us? There were a couple of things that I would yes, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I just have a quick question before I forget.
Yes.
The neighborhood business district. What are the boundaries of that, if you know?
Oh.
I mean, I could probably find it online. I just thought it might be this falls inside the neighborhood business district, though.
It does.
And does that mostly run along Vine Street, or does it have a wider radius?
Mostly along Vine Street. I'm looking at, and we're trying to make it a walkable area also. And what we did with the beautification was we signified the walkable business district with our flower pots. So the flower pots run from North Bend Road down to 70th Street. No, yes, 70th Street. And that's, I don't let's see, okay. 70th. Anyway.
No, I think that's helpful.
That helpful? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
And if we give one variance, it's kind of like it's going to open the door though to other people, also wanting, asking for a variance. And this particular business is at the heart basically of our business, or kind of at the northern end. I know that Mr. Guth made the statement, that a lot of this area back in the 50s and 60s, and he has me at a disadvantage. I did not grow up here. I only moved to Carthage about 20 years ago. So any background information is only what other people have told me, what I've learned over the year, the 20 years that, have living here. And I do know that like Bosom Nissan, started here in Carthage. Rumpke Garbage started here in Carthage. I was unaware that Jake Sweeney Auto also got its start here, but neither here nor there. I disagreed with his statement that a lot of it was auto sales. Anyway, but that's just my opinion of the situation. So what I wanted to say though again was that this is right in the heart of our business district, and it goes against our plan of what we're wanting a more diverse business district. I also want to bring to your attention that we have been working very extensively with the city to obtain 2 pieces of property to help with our business district and the parking situation that we have. In that, at one time, the Archdiocese of Cincinnati had a church here, St. Charles, and a school, which goes back to the 40s or 50s when they built the school. So the school and the church were right across the street from it, but it's 1 block over from Vine Street. It's a Fair Park Avenue and West Seymour Avenue. And we are hoping to close on that deal like yesterday to obtain those so that we can have parking. We know that parking is an issue on Vine Street for our business district, to entice, and have people, again, have this be a walkable area for us. We're also looking at, we'd like to see more eateries come in here, if you want little coffee shops, in those types of entities. And the number of auto repair and used car lots has just, to me, even in the short time that I've been here, has ballooned way beyond what is necessary. Carthage is only an area of 870 acres. We have 11 auto repair shops already existing within the limits of our neighborhood. We also have 10 used auto sales lots. Again, this is all within the limits of Carthage.
So you said 10 auto sales lots, and what was the other?
11, there are 11 auto repair shops already existing and 10 used auto sale shops, auto sale lots.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. As far as the number of auto parts that was mentioned earlier, there is only 1 auto part store that is located in our confines, the boundary of Carthage, and that would be the it's not O'Reilly. O'Reilly is over in Roselawn. It's outside of our thing. We do have the you pull and pay, but that's for parts, and they're kind of out, and they keep it all behind a big fence, so you don't see that. I wanted to point out too that I had a little disagreement with Mr. Guth had said earlier that where the building is located on 73rd and Vine, that there's when you're going east on that road, that there's nothing else back there, that it's dead end. It dead ends up to railroad. I don't know if it's Western and Southern, or not Western, but Norfolk and Southern, but there is a business, behind the alley, behind him. It's Accurate Gear that is located behind him, and that is a viable business that's open. And there's one on the other side too, on the south side then of 73rd back there. I don't remember the name right now. And
I see the other business. I can't tell what it is. It's fasteners.
Fasteners, yes. So
Or
not that I don't know that they
used
have,
to be.
but they do have, I'm sure during the week. And I don't know, because, with me working, and I have to be at the office a lot of times. I'm not here Monday through Friday, typically, unless, I was teleworking, I telework 4 out of 6. No, I have to be here. I have to go to the office 6 out of 10 days. So.
Okay.
Okay. So it is kind of interesting though, that if they're claiming that there's other people working on these cars outside of his shop, it's like, that's just an interesting why they migrate or go there. But I would think though too that Mr. Bianco would ask them to leave. Anyway, but so let's see. Yeah. So again, those were the two issues that this would go against, our development of our business district plan, and that we already have plenty enough, repair shops and used auto sales in Carthage.
It looks like a cursory Google search revealed that it's maybe a woodworking shop. Simple Wood Goods
Okay.
back there. Can you confirm or deny that?
I cannot. I don't.
Okay.
I don't know.
And so
You were
in
asking
term-
about the viable business that could possibly go. I have nothing to suggest at this time. Again, though, but we're the Civic League is really working hard, but our attention has been in the last year in obtaining these two parcels of property, from the Archdiocese, and with the help of the city to obtain the funding, for that. And our attention will be then next, to get that developed into a parking lot, at least for the one that's on the east side of Fair Park, and then the west side. Tentatively, we've got a few things we're kicking around for that other piece of property. So,
Gotcha. Okay. So it sounds like the Carthage Civic League's main contention here is that they prefer that I follow the guidance in the neighborhood business district strategy plan that encourages other business uses in this particular district. Is that right?
that is correct.
And I did ask some questions to one of the individuals that worked there about the work being done outside. Is that something that you have ever witnessed, or in general, have you noticed, cars, that look like they're being repaired or in the process of being repaired, parked outside or stored outside of this business or along 73rd Street?
I would say I have, but not on the east side where he is located, but definitely on the west side of 73rd.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I don't know exactly, where those cars, come from.
Yeah.
Whether it's the used car lot that's south of where this location is, or the other gentleman that's catty corner, across the street. I'm not really sure. I will say this though, in being in charge of the beautification committee, we have monthly cleanups, and I will have to say that that's an area that is always a mess. That section from North Bend down to that would be what is he at 72nd Street? That it's not. And if he's out and about, to me, he would be a better neighbor if he were to, to help clean up and keep that business, that area, his corner, at least anyway, cleaner and enticing. And I'm not sure where he's getting his customers from. He says that they're local, but I haven't had anybody that I know use that location, for car repair.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Bell. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Mr. Qureshi, did you have any questions you want to ask Ms. Bell?
Yes, Ms. Bell, does the Carthage plan limit the number of auto repair businesses?
That's an interesting question.
I don't think it does.
Challenges. Right offhand, I don't know that it does either.
All right. And as far as you said, you have personally observed somebody on the west side of 73rd working outside?
Yes.
What was it that you observed?
them working on cars
Like
several
did-
different times.
but on the opposite side.
Yes.
Okay. And did you photograph or record or anything?
I did not.
All right. And as far as you were referencing an area being messy, did you say up until 72nd Street?
Yes, well, between North Bend and 72nd on Vine Street, that whole section, and particularly, well, you know, but his corner also, there's always a lot of litter around it
Okay.
on
Is
his
there,
corner. So, you know, it'd just be appreciated that he would, you know, the other thing I want to point out too, that we've never seen him come to a Civic League meeting. And I'm not sure that he even has been involved with, we have a separate business district association now also. And when I know that we sent out invitations when we were reviving our business district association, that was 4 or 5 years ago, whether he showed up, you know, at that meeting to revitalize our business district association.
okay. And you're aware, ma'am, that this business has an auto dealer across this, 2 auto dealers across the street from it.
Yes, used auto cars. Yes.
Right. And then there's one just on the back side of it as well.
Yep, I do.
Okay. Now, as far as the businesses go, or the plan goes, you would agree with me that it is better to have a functioning business than a vacant building, correct?
I personally would, yes.
Yeah.
Agree with you on that.
And to the extent that that business is supporting other local businesses is also a good thing.
Yes, I would agree with you.
Okay. All right. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, great. Mr. Munzel, is there anything you'd like to provide in addition to your staff report?
Yes, I want to make a couple of comments. One, the citation I referenced in my staff report, I just looked it up and it was sent to the owner of the property. So that clarifies that.
That would be the first witness, right? Mr. Qureshi, Mr. Wayne is the owner via
Yes.
the LLC.
Yes, Your Honor. He's the owner as of September of 22.
Thanks.
Next comment, I just want to highlight that we did mention in our report the Carthage Neighborhood Business District Strategy Plan and how the proposed use conflicts with their goal to limit that district to office, residential and retail uses, and specifically states that auto-related uses be located outside of the NBD district in the industrial areas. And then,
Mr. Munzel, if I can ask a question about that. You work in the planning department that helps neighborhoods craft these plans, right? These neighborhood plans.
yes,
And so, you know, Mr. Qureshi asked a question about is there a limit on auto-oriented? Could you shed any light on that? I mean, what are these plans intended to really do? Is it an attempt to guide future development when businesses like this leave and lose their grandfathered status?
yeah. Although I was not involved in this particular planning process for Carthage, my background is in urban planning, so I can say that the goal of these kind of future land use plans is
I'm gonna object then if he's not really involved with Carthage planning.
Okay, the objection noted. Overruled. Wes, you want to
Uh,
answer?
Yeah, I was just going to say that the general goal of any land use plan is to guide decision making in the future when there's a rezoning or a development proposal of within that neighborhood, and take the information that was prepared as you know the future land use plan and use that to guide the decision making on a rezoning or any kind of development proposal. I did include just the map of their future land use in the report for your reference as part of your review. And I guess my last comment, if I could make one more comment.
Sure.
I did mention in my staff report about the complaints that were logged into the enforcement division. And hearing the testimony today, I would just add that if the complaints mentioned were not associated with the applicant, then that should be something that should be considered given a report. It mentions the citations and complaints. So thanks.
Yeah, could you sorry, could you restate that? I'm not sure I got all that.
I was just in our staff report, we did mention that the city's enforcement division inspectors witnessed working on vehicles in the street in that area. And I wrote that in my report. But the testimony I heard indicated that there's a chance that the people working on the cars in the street are not associated with the applicant's business. So just wanted to mention that's something that should be considered if it's true. So,
Gotcha. Okay.
thanks.
Sure. Let's see. Okay. Thanks, Wes. Think I have any other questions right now? Okay. Let's go ahead and let's shift back. So,
David, sorry, I had one more thing I forgot.
Sure.
I received an email from the applicant's attorney on Thursday, March 2nd, with some additional information on their hours and such. I did upload that to the portal. And I forwarded it to you today, just so you knew. But
gotcha.
thanks.
Okay. Thank you. All right, Mr. Qureshi, I'll give you an opportunity to do some rebuttal. I think maybe I might ask a few questions first. Or, I mean, you could do rebuttal or just, make some arguments as part of your closing and we could finish it out. But I wanted to just ask some questions before you did that, just so I could give you the opportunity to have the last word. Let's see. Did you have a chance to read Wes's staff report with his recommendations? No?
I didn't receive that.
Okay. Well, so the zoning staff is recommending denial here for the reasons that they've outlined in the report, but sometimes they'll offer suggested conditions if these applications, if I do decide to approve these applications. So one of those conditions is that the applicant would have to submit a business plan indicating the scope of operations, the hours of operations, and an agreement that no vehicles will be parked off site and that no repair would be done outside of the building. It sounds like, based on your client and witness's testimony, that would be something that would be easily achieved. Do you think that's correct?
Yes.
It also, another one of the recommended conditions was to obtain an offsite parking storage agreement of any vehicles that were parked outside of the shop. But again, it sounds like, based on witness testimony, that there are never vehicles that they store outside for future work. They just make appointments for them to come back at later times. Would you say that's correct?
Yes, I believe the testimony, Your Honor, is if it's a customer bringing a car, that car is going to be inside, right? But otherwise it's just street parking. Like I parked on the street.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
okay.
But if it's a customer vehicle, it is stored inside.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I think for good reason, right? You don't want to leave their liability issues and so forth. So they're always stored inside.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So, otherwise, I kind of wanted to ask you some more pointed questions about neighborhood compatibility based on some of the testimony that we heard from Ms. Bell and from Mr. Munzel. And so I don't think anyone here would argue that an auto repair or auto sales shop here or an auto-oriented business in general would be consistent with what's going on along that stretch of Vine Street and a lot of Carthage. But based on what you've heard about the plan, do you think that it's in them wanting to diversify the neighborhood economy around there? Do you think that it is truly compatible? Or in other words, should there be any limit whatsoever? I mean, because there are so many automobile shops right now, should that just be carte blanche to just line the entire streets? And do you think that's good for neighborhood economies to have entirely one industry along a business district? I know that was a couple questions in there, so happy to repeat any of them if you want, but I think you get the gist. Could you speak to that at all?
So, Your Honor, I think obviously it's good to have a plan, right? But you also have to look at what the reality is, right? So if this area you heard from Mr. Guth, right? The history of auto sales and so forth in this area. Cincy Speed was here for, if I'm right, from 1993 to 2017. These dealerships have been here. So at least this part of the street, right? At least this area seems to be more auto oriented. But even going a step further, if you have auto dealers and that's not a concern, right? Don't they need someplace to get their vehicles repaired, body work done? They're all used car dealers, right? Most of them, they're probably buying cars at auctions. They all need work, new tires, dings here and there, change this, change that. So you need to have somebody close by to do it. Well, this business is particularly well located because there are two dealerships across the street. There's one adjacent. There's one a block away, and they're serving each other. He's getting business from there. Who else is going to buy parts from at least the one Smythe that's down the road here, other than a body shop? So I think it's difficult to look at it from just a broad planning perspective and say that, do we want this all to be, just auto oriented? I don't think we're saying that, but for this particular part of Vine Street and based on the kind of the background and this particular building and the unique characteristics of this building, it's really not suited for anything else. And the economic benefit, not just to the owner, but to the other businesses in the area, I don't know what would be the other economically viable use of this particular building. So to answer your question, I don't know, what this place may look like 50 years from now, right? I don't know what it's going to look like 100 years from now, but at least for now, it seems to be that the auto industry is what's keeping things going here. That's kind of seems to be the backbone, at least at this part of Carthage, this part of Vine Street. And that doesn't mean that you shouldn't try to bring other businesses in, but for this particular business and this particular building, I don't see that there's another really viable use. But I also don't think that it really conflicts with their long-term plans, because this has been this kind of business for a long time.
Are you aware, are there any other neighborhoods in the city that you're aware of that are dominated by one industry in the way that Carthage is?
I mean, I'm not really familiar with every neighborhood in Cincinnati, Your Honor, but I can say, like in the Hamilton Fairfield area, right? What is that? Dixie Highway. all used car dealers. Like if you need to get a used car, right? You go to Dixie Highway in Fairfield and Hamilton, and all up and down that road are used car dealers, like for miles. And with each of those, right, all along, either there's a body shop on the, with the car sales facility itself, or they're spread all across, intermittently all across Dixie Highway, because they go hand in hand. So at least in terms of auto, I can say, because I'm live and work in that area, that it is heavily dominated by auto.
Right.
I'm not familiar with their long-term plans. It's not the only business there. On Dixie Highway, you'll see Dunkin' Donuts, you'll see other things, but everyone knows if you're looking for the used car dealers, Dixie Highway, and you're going to see body shops because they go hand in hand.
Sure. And I'm not familiar with that area, but I do know that there are some, parts all over the country that have, heavily auto-oriented uses. But I'm wondering if those are neighborhoods that have worked on a plan with the planning commission that was passed and reviewed by council with the explicit intention to make it a more pedestrian-oriented, mixed-use commercial neighborhood. And
I don't know the specifics of the specifics of the city of Hamilton, but
I mean, even Mr. Guth, referenced a time in the not too distant past where this was a place where you could walk around and buy all kinds of things. And it was a very diverse economy. And he said when he came back, it was all dominated by auto-oriented and had, gone downhill. And
right.
So I wonder, if, perpetuating the auto is actually putting Carthage in a better place in the long run, or if it's just a short-term fix to keep one building from not being vacant. And that actually brings me to another question. Is it most of the geography that you're saying why this is not economically viable, or is it because of this pit? Because I've been to breweries, I've been to drive-thrus, I've been to plant shops that look just like this place from the outside. So is it the geography because there are other businesses around here that are working that aren't auto, or is it because there's this pit that would need to be filled in or something like that?
I mean, I think it's a combination, Your Honor. I don't know if you've been, and I don't know if Mrs. Barbara, I'm sorry, I missed her last name, has actually been inside. I'm not really sure what else, what else would be a viable, economically viable option. I mean, I suppose if you wanted to sink enough money, you could turn anything into anything. But I think not just the geography, but just the layout of this business, or the layout of the building, the physical characteristics of the building, and then the fact that it's adjacent. It's one big building, but they're two parcels. It just seems that it's uniquely geared toward this type of industry.
Sure. I know you referenced in your application two other decisions I've made on an adjacent property with similar requests. So I know you're familiar with some of that reasoning in those decisions. I think before I even get to the economic viability and the use variance standards, I have to determine that this is in the public interest, and that includes neighborhood compatibility, standard traffic, buffering, landscaping, hours of operation, the plans, and adverse effects. If there is work being done and cars being stored that are broken down on the street, I do think that is an adverse impact that prevents, that I have to factor into whether or not this is in the public interest. And there's at least some evidence in the record now that people have been working on cars outside. But where I'm struggling with that is it's unenforceable from our side. So if I say this is okay, because I take your witness's testimony as truth, that he doesn't know who these people are and that, you know, he can't get them away. There's no way for the city of Cincinnati, and this is what I hear from, I've heard from other members of that community, there's no way for us to go out and enforce this, or to enforce this on this property, because he can just claim every single time that I don't know who these people are and I can't stop them. And that's really hard for me to get around that. Also, if I'm running a business without a permit, sort of the unpermitted business, and I've got someone who I don't know doing something illegal right outside of that business, I'm going to try to get them out of there every single time. So I think that goes against a little bit of the credibility and the believability that they are completely naive to what's going on outside and they cannot stop these people. And there are these rogue ghost mechanics that just set up shop and pretend to be mechanics. I mean, it's a bit incredible. Can you help me get there? Because I'm struggling quite a bit with that. And
Yes, Your Honor. So if
that is an extreme adverse effect, and it has been said time and time again by members of this community that it's a problem. I mean,
so then my question, sorry, Your Honor, my question would be, where is the evidence of that? If it was such an ongoing and regular thing, everyone's got a cell phone. Nobody took a picture or took a video of this as being an ongoing problem. I mean, if you've seen this building, there's no visibility outside, right? If the garage door opens, you can see outside, and you have a very limited view. There are no windows on the side here. So if you're not outside, you have zero idea what's going on the other side of the wall. Now, if you catch somebody out there and you say, you know, you can't do this, you know, you need to leave or whatever, what more does the business owner have to do? I mean, if there's somebody, you know, outside my law office, you know, doing something, it's not exactly the same thing.
There's a lawyer standing outside your office, a guy standing outside your office, and he's signing up clients. He's signing up clients outside your office and saying, I will help you with your legal problems. You would do something about it, including calling the police and the bar, right?
I mean, I may say it once or twice, right? But if you think you can get clients, you know, standing out on the street versus calling my office and making an appointment, right? But I can tell you this, if somebody said that's my associate out there trying to get clients, right? I would say, no, he's not. This is who works for me. I've got proof I can, you know, I pay him, and so on and so forth. And I'm sure we can provide that. But I think it's unreasonable to me. I guess I'm looking at it from the other side. If I don't want a particular business there, and there's something, you know, happening every now and then, and I think, you know, this is something that I can point out as being, you know, a problem, because I think it may help, you know, eliminate these kinds of businesses. I get where you're coming from, but let's suppose if you deny the application, right? Does that mean that guy's not going to be out here working on cars anymore?
It does if he works for your client.
Right.
And that's what I'm not convinced of, because it's one thing to sign clients up on a piece of paper outside a lawyer's office. To do work on cars takes tools, equipment, all kinds of things that someone cannot just pull out of their pocket. I mean,
well,
you see, it just seems very, and you're right. There's one piece of evidence here, the citation that's referenced, where they witnessed some work being done, but it just seems a little bit, not credible that this was a one-off deal. Well, actually, I'm sorry, your client the one witness did say that it happens every so often.
Right. Even my client acknowledged it. But the point, Your Honor, if you see this is I think it's 50 by 100 feet. There is no reason at all that anyone would need to work on a car outside. The lifts are in here, the frame racks are in here, all the tools are in here. Why would you need to go and work out on the street? Everything you would need to work on the vehicle is inside. If you drove by right now, you won't see anything outside other than the cars parked on the street and the garage door, which is maybe halfway open. You can't see what's inside, and the inside people can't see what's outside. But all the tools, all the equipment, all the machinery, chemicals, whatever, everything is inside. There's no reason that they would need to work on a car outside. There probably right now, there are maybe 6 or 7 cars in here, right? There's plenty of room if they need to do work on it.
Is there plenty of room to maneuver cars inside there and to pull cars in and out of the garage door when one's on the lift?
When one is on the lift, yeah, you can, there's enough room to back out. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I'm asking for sort of a layout of I mean, I can see the garage there, but
yeah, and I tried
is
to.
there one in the application?
Yes, Your Honor. So when you enter, if you were to, the first picture is what it looks like when you walk through the garage, right? So I haven't measured the distance, but I mean it goes pretty, it goes fairly deep. So and that's where that frame rack is and that pit in the ground. So but even with that frame rack there, you can pull cars to the right. And then there's a lift immediately to your right, but those are movable. And then there's another frame rack, on the right side that can be moved. Obviously, you can't do anything with you can't move the pit. But the question was asked about how many cars you can potentially hold in here. I can tell you, I've been here multiple times. I've never seen that many cars, but they're all inside. There may be one on a lift and the other ones are, parked. They're different things that you're working on, but I've never seen this building like packed. But everything is inside, everything.
All right. Let's see. I don't think that I have any other questions that I can think of. Did you have more that you wanted to provide in closing or otherwise?
Your Honor, just not really anything more than we've discussed. But if your decision hinges on, some guy coming and doing work in this area, I would submit that if it were an ongoing problem, someone would have recorded something.
Well,
There should
someone
be-
did. I mean, there was no picture, but someone made a written statement.
Okay, so but then that written statement is they saw somebody, working out there, and now you've got the owner of the shop here and the guy adjacent who's saying we've seen it. It's not my guy. Well, he knows who works for him and who doesn't. So unless somebody can come forth and say this is an ongoing thing, this guy was here on this day or whatever, it must be so infrequent then that you can't capture it. I mean, if you're outside working on a car on the street, you're going to be there for a while. So you're telling me that there are people who are witnessing this and, I mean, what was the guy doing out there that you could tell he's working on a car? I mean, was he changing a tire? Was he doing something really, heavy duty? And if he was, you had time to capture that.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess the way that I was looking at it was, and I understand your point there. The way I was looking at it was, what are the chances that the one time the inspector shows up to do an inspection randomly, that there just happens to be someone doing the work at that time? I think that's the sort of coincidental, the thing that's just, it's too much to be a coincidence, right? That and you're right. I mean, there's no picture.
Yeah, I would think.
So.
Right. And to the same point, if it was such a strange coincidence, well then why didn't you capture it? Why do we have to just go by your word? Let's have objective evidence of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, we know it happens though, right? Based on Mr. Chias. I mean, so it certainly does happen
from time to time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if it is something that's happening from time to time, other than telling him you've got to leave or I'm going to call the police or whatever, I mean, they're also trying to run a business here, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know how much burden we can put on the, on the business owner, but like, again, if it must be infrequent enough that no one has bothered to do anything more than just say, yeah, we saw somebody working on the car.
Interesting. I get your point. Um, okay. Well, shall we leave it at that? Is there anything else you'd like to offer in closing or otherwise?
Just other than what we've already submitted and what we've stated, Your Honor, nothing more will submit on the evidence.
Okay. Yeah. First, let me thank you, Mr. Qureshi, for your first off hearing me butcher your name 1,000 times over the course of this hearing.
It's never happened before.
Right. I truly apologize for that. It was certainly not intentional, and so thanks for being professional, and thanks for your very professional and thorough presentation. I thought you did an excellent job for what it's worth. I started my law career as a prosecutor, so I still got a little cross-examination in me. So thanks for answering all my questions and just being professional throughout. I thought you did an excellent job. I want to take this under advisement a little bit and just spend some more time with it. I don't want to have a snap decision right now. I want to review the testimony and review all of the records before I make a decision. I honestly don't know what that is now. I think you made some excellent points. I think this administration has demonstrated, at least the last 3 administrations, that they're pro-business, pro-immigrant. The last thing I want to do is jam up this guy or this family, or put someone out of business. That is not at all my intention, and I don't think that's consistent with what city policy is. So I'm going to give this absolutely a fair look and try to make as objective a determination as I possibly can, and that's just going to take a little bit more time for me to fully digest everything. I will say that once I do reach a decision, I will put that all in writing. I know that you've seen some of my past decisions, so it'll be coming in that form. I put it into a PDF and I email it to everybody who's in the hearing here today. So you'll have a copy of it really just moments after it's complete. That goes for you as well, Ms. Bell and Mr. Menzel. If it is approved and there are any conditions, those conditions will be attached to the decision or in the body of the decision. Again, I think I did that with one of the prior decisions for an adjacent property. So you'll see all of that there. And I cannot take in any new testimony. So any new evidence, testimony, documents, pictures, anything like that. The hearing is now closed. And so I have to make a decision based on everything that is currently within the record. So if you have questions about procedure or status of the decision or anything else from a procedural standpoint, I'm happy to answer those. But I can't hear any new evidence. Any questions about any of that?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
No, thank you.
Great. Thank you all so much, and really appreciate everyone's time and testimony here today. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. You'll be hearing from me soon via email.